It is so important to love others. And I watched my mom. It didn't matter. It didn't matter. She didn't see color. She didn't see color. And I remember being little, and I just would watch her just love on people. Never color didn't exist to her. And I admired that so much about her. I can't even explain it. And I always say, God, it had to have been my mother's love for people, because she loved.
Welcome to the One Girl Revolution podcast. It's your girl, Kate, here. This is the place to find inspiring stories of world-changing women and girls every single week. Every single week, we have a new, unique story coming your way, so make sure that you subscribe to the One Girl Revolution podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, iHeartRadio, and everywhere you listen to podcasts. Check out our website at onegirlrevolution.com. That's the number onegirlrevolution.com to find all of our over 190 episodes of the podcast. We have our Emmy-nominated documentary series up there. You can donate to our nonprofit organization to help us continue our critical work to elevate women's voices and their stories, and so much more. Go to onegirlrevolution.com. That's the number onegirlrevolution.com today. This week on the One Girl Revolution podcast, I welcome Angel Flewellyn, founder of Sunday's Best Crew. Angel is known as an angel in the kitchen who serves hundreds of meals daily to people in need in the city of Detroit. I live right down the street from where Sunday's Best Crew serves those in need, and I didn't even know about her story until a friend from DC, thank you, Mateel, sent her story over to me for One Girl Revolution. And I'm always actively looking for stories every single day, so I can't believe that I didn't know about Angel and Sunday's Best Crew until now. But this is just testament to the fact that there are angels and there are One Girl Revolutions around us in our own communities that we don't know about. So keep your eyes out, keep your eyes peeled, and look for those angels in your own community and get involved and support their work. I am so excited to now know about Angel and Sunday's Best Crew, and I can't wait to continue to support them and get involved in their great work in my own community. In this episode, Angel and I laugh, we cry. I literally bawled my eyes out in all transparency. We talk about the incredible work that Angel and Sunday's Best Crew is doing to feed those in need, and how she doesn't even like to cook, but she just started serving and now she can't stop. Angel shares how she got started in this work almost a year ago and how it's grown and evolved because the need is so desperate and it's so great. You do not want to miss this inspiring episode of the One Girl Revolution podcast. So without further ado, here's my conversation with Angel. Angel, welcome to the One Girl Revolution podcast.
Thank you for having me here. I appreciate it, Kate.
Well, I appreciate you, and I'm just so excited to have you on the podcast. Like I mentioned to you before we started recording, I didn't even know about the incredible work that you're doing, and I live not very far from where you are. And so this is the power of stories in our own neighborhoods. And sometimes we don't even know the amazing things that are going on right around us. And so I always encourage people on this podcast to open their eyes to what's going on in their own communities and figure out ways that they can get involved. You know, sometimes we have somebody who has created this amazing worldwide organization, but a lot of times it's just these organizations or movements, initiatives that are just in our own communities. And so a friend of mine from Washington, D.C. had stumbled upon your story and texted it to me. And I read it and I thought, I have to have Angel on. I have to talk about Sunday's Best Crew and all the incredible work that you're doing. So I'm just so excited to have you on. But before we get into the great work that you're doing today, Angel, I would love to rewind and hear a little bit about your own story, who you are, where you're from, and just a little bit about your journey before Sunday's Best Crew happened.
Okay, well, I am from Detroit, Michigan. I've been involved, I think, with the community for a while now. I've done so much. I was a foster parent or foster mom for 17 years. I fostered over maybe 75 kids. And you know what? I enjoyed it. I loved it so much. The hardest part about being a foster parent is when you have to say goodbye, for me. I loved all my kids. I tell you, it was something that I always wanted to do. It's like I wanted to foster kids. I wanted to give kids that unfortunately didn't have, a home maybe they could call home. So they knew that they could call my home was home for them. Sometimes they would say, "Can I?" It felt like I was over like my auntie's house or something like that. So I really enjoyed that. I also was my mother's caretaker back in 2021. My mom had suffered a stroke and she had lost her vision. And at that time, I was working my job. And when my mother had a stroke, the doctors had said, well, if no one's able to take care of your mom, she's going to probably have to go into a nursing home. And I said, no, nope, 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 nope. I said, I'm going to take care of my mom. And I had told the Lord, I said, Lord, if you spare her life, I will give her mine. And for 20 years, 20 long years, but the best years of my life, I took care of my mother to the end. And full time, I quit my job and she became my number one priority. And so I see my life. My life is like a pattern. It's like I'm always like, it's like I find myself always providing and taking care of others. But the thing about it is I love it because that's where I find my peace and that's where I find my joy. It's not, I always tell my daughter, I've always told her this ever since she was little, life is not always about you, but it's about being a blessing to others as well, you know? And so, and that's how I've lived my life, you know? I love to see, people just happy, you know? I just love people. That's just me. And with Sunday's Best Crew, it was something that was unexpected. I did not expect this. I did not see this coming. Um, I had said my mother had passed away in 2021, and I said, okay, I want to still, you know, give give my time and give myself to others. And I said, I told my daughter, I said, you know what? I'm going to cook a Sunday meal for people that's homeless just on Sundays because they don't get a chance to eat a good meal. And I said, that's what I want to do. I said, if we can eat a good meal on Sundays, then they should be able to eat one as well. And so I cooked my first 12 meals on October the 23rd of 2021. And I'm sorry, 2022. I'm sorry. And it was only supposed to have been on Sundays. And then my daughter said, maybe like 2 or 3 days later, she said, Mom, the Lord said that we have to do this every day. And I was like, Tia, I can't do this every day. And she's like, no, Mom, I'm serious. This is what he said. And I said, well, okay, Tia. Well, if the Lord said that we have to do this every day, then guess what? I'm going to have to do it every day. And so again, I started with 12 meals. And then that every day went up to eventually 20 meals. And then it kept going up to maybe 30 meals, 35 meals. And so now on October the 23rd of this year, 2023, this is going to be my, first year anniversary. And now we're cooking about 100 meals per day or very close to 100. Like Sunday, I did 106 meals.
Wow.
And and they know they can get a good home cooked meal. And when you hear them say, this is all I've had, or I haven't had anything, in 2 days, because they find, they find me because they have, I guess the word gets around and they know that I'm stationary there at the transit center. And so they come and get their home cooked meal. And sometimes, they can tell me what they want and I'll cook it. Like one guy said, I want some fried chicken and mashed potatoes. I hadn't had that in years. And so I made it my business to make that meal for him. You hear so many stories of what they tell you their problems or how they got in the predicament that they're in. But a lot of times they tell you what they hadn't ate, in years. There was one older man. He's about 70, 75. He said, I hadn't had a banana pudding in about 30, 35 years. And I surprised him and I made him a banana pudding and he couldn't believe. He's like, oh my goodness, you made the banana pudding. I said, it's all for you, buddy. It's all yours. So if I hear them saying things that they hadn't had, I'll surprise them and I make that meal for them. And they'll say, well, how did you know I wanted that? 'Cause, sometimes I can hear them talking, and then if they tell me, sometimes I'll say, what do you want me to cook? But they all have a story. And I tell you, many of them are hungry, and I've learned that you can't judge people, because you just never know people's situations or how they got there. I've heard so many stories to where it is so mind blowing. It's like, wow, this is just to hear your story, is only by God's grace that you're still standing, but I love to love on people. And that's why I'm there, is to spread love. Hmm.
Well, you're spreading love through food. I feel like so many of us, like, we just have this like beautiful connection to food. And also, you think about like sitting down to a family dinner, and a lot of these people, they're not eating,
No,
right? But when's
no.
the last time that they actually had someone listen to them? And here you are listening to them and making the
Hmm.
meals that they love or that they miss. And
Hmm.
it
Hmm.
just, you're going to the people. It's such a beautiful story, that Sunday's
Yeah,
Best Crew, you're actually going to the transit center, setting
yeah.
up shop and
Hmm.
passing out meals there. And Angel, you are a challenge to all of us, because even I'm thinking as you're speaking, all of us could make a little extra, right? We could
Uh-huh.
all on Sunday, like, we could make it our mission and say, you know what, on Sundays, I'm going to, if we just started there one day a week, and either, it doesn't even necessarily have to be people that are experiencing homelessness, but maybe some elderly people in your community, or a
Yeah.
family whose stay-at-home mom is stressed out, or maybe somebody just had a new baby. Like, we can all do something. And that's a
Hmm.
big part of this podcast, is encouraging people to look at the world and say, what can I be doing in my own community? And you've done that, Angel. And sometimes the difficulty is, you do something once and then you realize that the need is much bigger. And then you have to do
Yeah.
it again and again, and more meals. And so
Yeah.
probably for you, when you started
Mhm.
it was like, yeah, I'll make 10 meals or 20 meals, but
Right.
100 meals every single day. So tell me about, like, how did you realize, so you're coming up on your 1 year anniversary, which is so amazing, but
Mhm.
how has it grown and evolved from, the one day to now where it is now?
Well, the one day that I only did for, okay, when I started the 23rd of October, the 26th, I think around the 26th, like maybe 3 days later, 2 days later, that's when my daughter told me what God told her. And from that day on, I was cooking meals every day. So I never really, it never was really just that one day. It just really just, snowballed into an everyday, meals. Um, and it was 7 days a week. And what happened was, there's another organization that I found out that come on Wednesdays. So now that when I found out they came on Wednesday, that was sometime in January, I said, okay, well, I'll just do it 6 days, since they do get a meal, on that Wednesday. So it just snowballed. So I can't even explain it. It's like, it just, it's just, I can't even explain. It's like it blew up overnight almost. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Oh,
But
totally.
yeah. And I think what hurts and bothers me the most is when I see seniors out there, and I see mothers with their babies out there. I even see dads with their kids out there. And that's when it's like so hard, when I can leave and get in my car and go home, but they have to stay there, you know? And so it's important for me to give them a meal. I want them to have a full course meal, not a sandwich, but a meal, something that's going to hold them over to the next day they see me, because it's like, okay, I got to get there the next day. And then I prepare my meals a day in advance. Like, if I leave there, the transit center, a lot of the other times when I leave there, I'm at Sam's Club. You can always find me at Sam's Club, just buying stuff. Like today, they had, oh my goodness, many of them hadn't had grits in years. So grits is so fulfilling. So I have this real big pot of grits that I take to them, like when I'm doing breakfast now. And then today we had egg and cheese, we had the sausage, we had bagels, we had donuts, um, juice and water. They have a meal. You know what I'm saying? I mean, a meal, and they love it. But they always say, thank you. I don't know what I would have done if it wasn't for you. Thank you. And you hear this all day. And so you feel obligated to do this for them every day because you know it's like they're depending on you, you know. And a couple of the times that I didn't come, they were mad with me the day that I showed up. Like, why did you not come yesterday? We were here waiting. We were hungry. And so sometimes, it's gotten to where it's like a wear and tear a little bit on my body. So I have to take a little break, maybe a day or so to kind of regroup, because it's now that it's, because I'm cooking for 100 and basically I do all the cooking. And I do all the shopping. And so, it was like last week, I had to really take 2 days off because it was like, oh my goodness, I don't know if I can go for these 2 days, but I made up when I did go. When I went the day after, I made up. So I'll make up, but I take good care of them. I just want them to know that I love them, and we know food is good for the soul. So you need a good home cooked meal.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
nutrition is so important too, right? Where people are
Hmm.
experiencing homelessness and they're eating, for people that aren't in the city of Detroit, there's like a White Castle, right? There are
Hmm.
restaurants, but there's a White Castle. Like what is the cheapest, easiest thing you can get in this neighborhood? It's a White
Yeah.
Castle. And like that's not
Mhm.
nutritious to eat that every day. And so you're
Yeah.
really creating these amazing meals for people, and it
Yeah.
feeds their body, but also like feeds their heart and soul, and you pour a lot of
Yeah.
love into it, which is so beautiful. Donate to One Girl Revolution's nonprofit organization to help us continue our work, highlighting inspiring women and girls that are changing the world through their lives, promoting their work and their organizations, and building a powerful and positive force out in the world dedicated to empowering women, their voices, and their stories. Donate at onegirlrevolution.com/donate. That's the number onegirlrevolution.com/donate. So what
Yeah.
kind of meal? So for people that are listening, Sunday's Best
Mhm.
Crew, you go out to the transit center in Detroit and you pass
Uh,
out, like you said, 100 meals every single day. So is it a different meal every day? Is it like, I know it's a different meal every day, but do you do breakfast some days, lunch some days, dinner
Mhm.
some days, or is it a specific time you go? And then tell me about some of the meals that you make.
Well, see, now when I first started, it was just dinners, like in the evening. But now I do breakfast, and if I don't do breakfast, I'll do dinner. If I don't do dinner, I'll do breakfast because they, was saying, well, we want breakfast sometimes. So I had never thought about the breakfast. I said, wow, you know what? That's a good idea. I'll do breakfast for you guys sometimes. And so the breakfast consists of, like I said, we do the cheese and eggs, we do the grits, we do hash browns, we do link sausage, patty sausage, of course, donuts. We do fruit dish, apples, oranges. We do a lot of different types of fruits. For dinner, oh my goodness, it's like baked chicken, barbecue chicken. We do meatballs, mashed potatoes with string beans, corn, macaroni and cheese, um, greens. Broccoli and cheese. I just give them good food and a good meal. So it's just, I don't know, I think it's just me um cooking, but I'm cooking with love because I it's not me. I'm not someone that likes to cook. First of all, let me just say that. I can
Really?
No, 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 no.
Wow.
Like in my house right now, there's nothing on the stove. Okay. I don't cook. I don't cook, but I cook for them. I do not cook. I mean, I could eat me a sandwich and I'm good. So my daughter said, Mom, you never cook. I don't cook for us, but I cook for them. I'm gonna make sure they eat. So it's me again I have always put other people before myself. I've always done that. It's like that's all I know. So and I told them, they don't even believe me. They say, you don't cook. I said, no, I don't cook. I'm serious. I don't cook. But I just want to make sure they have, that they're okay, that they ate, when they're out there and a lot of them are, resting on the streets. There was this one guy, I will never forget, he was on the bench and he was so sick that he couldn't get up to get a meal. And he was a diabetic and his sugar had dropped. And I told him, don't move. He wanted to come and get a plate. But I said, don't move. I'm going to bring it to you. And I went, he couldn't even lift his head up. So I held his head up and I was holding his head and giving him the juice from the straw. Um, and I was getting ready to feed him, you know. But he took, the fork and he started to feed himself. And I was wiping his mouth and I sat there with him to make sure he was okay afterwards. And he said he felt better after, he had eaten the food. So the things that you run across, the people that you run across, like I said, their stories, I would have never imagined it was this bad. Never in all my life. Never. But what I see, it's like when I see new faces every day, I say, okay, there's a problem here. And these are people that are, if they're not homeless, I'm going to say 85%, I believe are homeless. The other, I believe, are just hungry. And, they're struggling, and they would even tell you, I live by myself, but I'm struggling, and like I said, I get a lot of seniors, that, they're in a situation where, they're barely making it, and I get it all day. And that's why I fight to do what I'm doing. It's a good fight. It's a good struggle. And I just want to make sure they're good, that they've eaten, especially the babies. When I see the babies, like today, it was a lady with her 3 kids, and the little girl was about 3, and all the food was gone. They came last. And the little girl said, I just want, what did you have? She's like, no, she's about 4. And I told her, and she saw me give the last guy the eggs and cheese. And she's like, I want some eggs and cheese. And I said, oh, I thought I told her mom, I thought you said they just wanted something to drink. She said, no, my daughter said that, but they were hungry. I said, oh my goodness. And I said, I have a bagel. Want a bagel? I have a lot of bagels, and I put some cream cheese on it. And she was happy, but she was hungry. You get so many kids that's hungry, and they will let you know that they're hungry. It's like, I don't know. I just never would have expected it to have been this bad, but it's bad. It's bad.
It's so
Yeah.
bad. And there's a amazing woman down in Athens, Texas, that she feeds children who are during summer breaks, during different breaks from school, because people don't realize like what happens to these children. Maybe they have a roof over their head, but their parents can't feed them, can't afford to feed them when they're not going to school, right? They go to school and they get their meals. And so Miss Willa down in Athens, Texas does something similar to you. She has a food truck and she drives around the poorest neighborhoods, the poorest communities, and feeds these children. And like you said, like they're little faces, and like it just breaks your heart. And like that's the thing, is there are so many different reasons. And I know you see that every single day in the conversations that you have with people. We all have assumptions about why somebody is experiencing homelessness, right? Or why somebody's standing on the side of the street with a sign, or why somebody's asking for change. We make assumptions about people all day long, but the reality is there are so many things going on in our world, and so many people struggling and suffering, and we all can probably relate to that in some capacity. Where we don't have as much money, our dollar doesn't go as far right now. And so it's like budgeting in a different way, but there are so many people that are really suffering. And I look around Detroit and there's so many people, but we don't know their stories, but you're getting to know their stories and what's going on with them.
Yes. And if you knew a lot of their stories, you can say, I kind of understand now. I understand, I mean, some of their stories, it's like, you wouldn't even believe it. It's that bad, and a lot of it is mental illness too. My sister, who was one of Sunday's Best Crew, she's a mental health therapist, and she shared a lot of things with me about mental health. And I was reading some information, and it said that 75% of women that are homeless have mental illness. And I said, whoa, that's high. I mean, 75%. And my sister said, yeah, she said, when you think about it, you know, many of the women, their situations are different from men because they have a lot of shelters for women. And why, you ask yourself, why wouldn't they not be in those shelters? And she said, and a lot of it is because of their mental illness. There's a mother and a son. They've been homeless for 4 years. They're right in the area where I served. And I remember when I first started serving, and when I spotted them, and they had all their luggage and bags and bags of clothes. I had stopped and I told them, I said, I cook meals, and I'm like around the corner from where you guys are. I said, if you want a hot meal, I can either bring it to you, or I can have, one of the crews to bring it to you. She's like, no, we're fine. We're fine. We don't want it. We're fine. And so she didn't know me. And so I guess she didn't trust me. And so this was like maybe sometime in November. And so I stopped a couple other times and said, ma'am, if you guys want something to eat, and she would stop. No, I don't want anything. I don't want anything. Her son is about in his early 20s. And I think there's some mental health issues with both of them. And so just last week or 2 weeks ago, I stopped again. And there was another guy who was talking to them who also comes and get my food. And when he saw me, he told the lady, he said, that's the lady right there. Angel, she's going to help you. You can trust her. She's going to help you. And I turned my car around. I wanted to get out and talk to her. And I said, if she's talking to him, then maybe she'll feel comfortable. For once, she'll talk to me. And she kind of opened up a little bit. And so she didn't want anything to eat again. So I told her again, I said, don't forget, I'm like around the corner. So if you get hungry, I'm there at around I gave her the time. And when I got there last week, her and her son was waiting on me. They were waiting. They didn't come close to me because I guess their fear of people, they have some type of fear for people. And she didn't come close to me. She was like on the same corner where I served. So I said, oh, wow, she's coming closer to where I'm at. And then her son came. He said, can me and my mom have something to eat? And I said, yes. I had been waiting almost a year for them to come and get something to eat. And then I asked him his name. And then I asked him his mom's name. And then I went over there and I started talking to her. She began talking to me for the first time in almost a year, just last week. And I said, you can trust me. I'm not here to hurt you. I said, but I just want to make sure you guys eat, and I said, is there any way I can help as far as maybe shelter? And she was like, no, she didn't trust me enough to help with, finding shelter for her. She said, we'll be fine. She said, but your food is so good. She said, your food is so good. I said, well, thank you. And everyone says that. And I said, Lord God, I don't even cook. So how can my food be this good?
I guess you've just gotten better and better, right? Throughout the year. Angel, where do you cook? Do you cook in your own kitchen or?
Yes. I cook in my own kitchen. It looks like a restaurant.
I believe it. Wow.
So I have pots and pans. So when I come back home, I have to make sure, everything is cleaned up for the next day. And then it's like, oh my goodness. But the joy that I get out of it when I go and I set up, and now, they're in line. When they see my car pull up, when I tell you, they all form a line because they're so happy. There's like, there she is. There she is. Angel, we love you. Angel, 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 Angel. So I hear that a lot. So I joke with them. We laugh. I just want to kind of help them with their, a lot of them are hurting. So even if I can make them laugh a little bit, so they know that they have a friend in me, so they always say, we love you, Angel. You are a good person. You are our friend. I say, yeah, we're friends. So we're friends for life. So there's nothing you can do about it. We're friends for life, So that I just want to make them feel good and special, because how can you feel worthy when you feel like the world is against you? And so I don't want them to feel like the world is against them. I want them to know that they have that I love them. I always say, God loves you and I love you too. So that is why I'm here. I don't cook, and this is where he put me. For whatever his reason is, I accept it. And I wouldn't trade it in for nothing in the world. I just wouldn't. I wouldn't.
As human beings, all we want is just to be seen and heard, right? At the end of the day, like we just want to be known, and
Yes.
you're knowing these people, and you've already shared so many stories, and I hope that you write some of these down. I'm glad that we got them. Now you'll have record of them in this podcast episode, but every single day, I know you're meeting people and encountering people and having conversations, and I'm sure that your eyes have been opened so much, right? For the crisis of people experiencing homelessness, but also the difficulties that people are facing. I'm sure that your eyes every single day have been opened. What have you learned, Angel, about the world, maybe about yourself through this work?
Wow. I think I've learned that everyone deserves to be loved. I mean, everyone, and that we should not judge people. We should be a blessing to people and love on people while we can, because you just never know who needs that. Like I said, I've talked to so many. There was a young boy who ran away from home, and he was in the streets, and he began to tell me his stories. And I said, what do you mean you ran away from home? And he said, I did, I ran. He was like 18. And I said, if you don't go home, I said, me and you're going to have a problem. I said, so I want you to go home. And we talked. He's like, I don't want to go. He was out in the streets for maybe 2 weeks. And I would sit and we would talk. I would stop doing what I'm doing, and I'll go and sit with him for maybe about 10 minutes. And he began to tell me a little bit about his story. And we talked and we talked. And I told him about me being a foster parent. And one day he came to visit me. He said, guess what, Angel? I went home. I said, you went home? He was like, yeah, you were right. I said, see there, you see, and the stories that they tell me, and even when they say, Angel, you've helped me and you made me feel better, you talking to me, I go and sit and talk with them. And if, like I said, with seniors, if they're on walkers, I'll tell them, no, I'm coming to you. Don't you dare move. I'm bringing my food to you. And I'll go take my food to them, and I sit down and we'll sit and talk while they're eating. And I just love on them. And I let them know that I love them. I say, I'm right across the street. So if you guys want anything else, just to say, Angel, I want something else, and so they know, but they feel so good when I'm there. The lady, actually 2 of the guards that works at the transit center, she had said, this place was dark before you came. She said, now you can feel this. She said, now it's light. She said, it's light. I said, really? She said, I kid you not. It was a dark, gloomy place. She said, but now there's light. There's life. I said, yeah, that's what it is. Because you have to make people feel like they're loved and they're worthy. They got to feel that, and you have to let them know. I always tell them, I love you. You may not know me, but I love you. I don't have to know you to love you. To love others it's the easiest thing to do, but yet we find it to be the hardest thing to do. See, I guess I don't understand it because I just love. And I think I don't know, I don't want to say gift, but it's peace. To love people and to love others, it's peaceful, you know? And that's why I think I enjoy doing what I'm doing, because I feel free. You know what I'm saying? I feel free. And it's sharing my love with others. And if it can rub off on them, I just want people to know what it feels like. You got to know what it feels like. It's like it's you against the world almost, And it's just a peaceful place to be. It takes away all your problems, all your troubles. It takes it away, But I don't know. I wish the world could get it. I had said on my Facebook page, I had said, the world is going in the wrong direction. And I said, Lord, I pray that they get it together. I pray that they get it together. They're all going left when they should be going right. They're all going left. you know.
Yeah. And it
So,
just takes those small steps too, Angel. Like I loved
yeah.
how you talked about the darkness to light. Because when I think about Detroit, everybody always thinks, Detroit is dead, Detroit is dark, who would go to that city, who would live in that city. I
Uh-huh.
love our city. I love being here in the city of Detroit, but truly you are a beacon of light to the world, Angel. And we all have that power. We all have that power to be a beacon of light. And also
Yeah.
light travels, right? And it can have a
Yeah.
ripple effect. So when you do
Yeah.
something kind for someone, you
Hmm.
never know how that will pass along to other people. And so you're really
Yeah.
you really have started a revolution, Angel. I think it's very fitting that this one girl revolution, and I know there are so many other people who are involved in the work that you're doing. And that's what I always talk about on this podcast. It's not always just the one girl revolution. It's the whole army that's surrounding her, walking with her and doing work
Yeah.
with you.
Yeah.
So I have a question. How many volunteers do you have go out with you? If you're passing out 100 meals every single day, that's a lot for you just to
Yeah.
handle on your own. Do you have volunteers that come with you too?
Yeah. So actually there's about four of us. And one of the young ladies, she actually heard about me, and she said, I want to come and volunteer. And I said, okay. She came to volunteer. And she said, you know why I'm here? And I said, no. She said, when I found out that you were here at this location, she said, this was me 6 years ago. I was homeless. I was on drugs. She said, for 8 years I was. And she said, I was at my worst. She said, right here at this very spot. And she said, you're at the spot that I was in. You're you're passing out food, you're loving on people. And she said, when I found you, she said, I found my joy and my peace. And so she comes every day. Now she's an evangelist. And she comes with the word. And she shared her story with me. And I said, are you kidding me? So you've been here. She said, I've been here, but I was on the other side. And wow, it's just the things that happens when we're out there serving, it's like you just know it is God. Because when I tell you, it's like I can tell you so many stories. You would say, you've got to be kidding me. You've got to be kidding me. You know, I don't know. I don't know. He gives me the strength to do this every day. And like I said, today in a minute, I'm going to go to Sam's Club, and I don't serve on Wednesdays, but I'm going to go and prepare my food for Thursday, and get the food that I need for Thursday. So some of them want breakfast again. Some of them want dinner. So I'm going to just see, do I want to do breakfast or dinner? But I kind of always give them what they want. So yeah. It's not
Well,
what
we'll
I want.
see. We'll see where the spirit moves you, what you
Uh-huh.
decide to do for Thursday. If you like what you're hearing on this episode of the One Girl Revolution podcast, please subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, YouTube, or wherever you're listening right now. We have new inspiring episodes coming out every week, and you don't want to miss a single one. Subscribe to the One Girl Revolution podcast today. Angel, where do you hope that Sunday's Best crew goes from here? I know, you're coming up on your 1-year anniversary. It probably feels like you've been doing this for years and years and years.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
also it probably also feels like you blinked and here we are a year later. Where do you hope that Sunday's Best crew goes from here, and what impact do you hope to make on the world?
Wow. I don't know. Wherever the Lord takes it me, I just see Sunday Best is doing a lot of great things in Detroit. And I just wish that more people would start their Sunday's Best crew. Start your Sunday's Best crew wherever you are, because there are people that are in need of food. There's a lot of homeless people. There are people that are, they're struggling, and a meal is hard to come by for many people. I just wish people would start their own Sunday's Best crew. We're not in competition. We're together on this. And it's about us coming together and doing the right thing to be a blessing to help others. So I like to say, as God is opening up doors, I'm meeting some wonderful, wonderful people with Sunday's Best crew. I have people that come. They found out that I was there. They even saw me on the news, and they come and they sit and we chat and we talk. And like I said, I didn't see this coming. Of course, a lot of times we don't see things coming that's for us. But it's like, wow, God, I never would have thought. I never would have thought that I could have made an impact on someone's lives like this, and I'm glad. I'm glad God is using me for this purpose. So wherever the good Lord takes me, I'm going to go. So, yes.
I can't wait to see where you go from here in Sunday's Best Crew. And like I said to you, I can't wait to come out and serve with you.
Absolutely.
You're in my neighborhood. I can't wait to come and meet all of your fam, everybody who's out there. And I can't wait to see where you go from here. And One Girl Revolution, we're going to be watching what you're doing. We're going to be supporting you in any way that we can. What can people do? I know you shared how people can emulate your work, right? They can do this in their own communities. They don't have to be in Detroit necessarily. We can all do something. But what can people do to support your work? Can they donate? Can they donate financially? Can they donate food? Talk to me about all the ways that people can support your work and how can they get involved?
Well, actually, donating would be something that will be very appreciative. I can tell you that now, because we are cooking for such a large amount of food for people. We have a website. It's called sundaybestcrew.org. We have a donation page. So if you can donate, that would be a blessing, because a lot of the money is what we are basically using on our own. We've had some beautiful and wonderful people have donated. So, for those that have probably donated that are listening to your podcast, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. We have some that donate to us on a regular basis, a monthly basis. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. All of the money goes towards food. It is a lot to feed almost 100 people every day. Once it was, I to my understanding, it was like 2,000 meals a month that we were doing, basically 2,000 meals a month. So we definitely we need donations. We need help to keep what we're doing, to keep it up and to keep it going, and to be a blessing, to serve, and to, of course, feed those that are in need. So yes, your donations would be a blessing to us. So go to sundaybestcrew.org and go to our donation page. And thank you so much for your donations. Yes.
I will put your website and make it really easy for people to donate. We'll also promote it on social media. So if people want to get in touch with you and they want to donate, it'll be really easy for them. So make it really easy for them, Angel, for people to support the work that you're doing, because it's so important. And if you had more funding, I'm sure that you could feed even more people, right? Or even like the story that you told about this family with a little girl that came by and like she was hungry. And if you have more resources, you're able to feed more people. So I will encourage everybody who's listening to donate whatever, and even $5 makes such a big impact. So every little bit helps.
Yes. I had one homeless guy. He had a nickel. He gave me his nickel. He's all I have is a nickel. And his nickel, he got 3 meals, 3 full course meals. And he couldn't believe it. I said, yeah, you gave me your last. So, that was that and I kept his nickel. I still have it. And that brought tears to my eyes more than any other donations, that nickel, because he gave me his last. So that one kind of breaks me. Even when I think about it, it breaks me.
We can all do something, it's the littlest things can make such a big impact.
Yes. That's the truth. Yes. It's a joy. It's work, but it's a joy.
Oh, it's a lot of work. I know. Yeah. I can only imagine all the work on a daily basis. And, like you shared, you have to, once you finish one day, it's like, all right, I got to get back to Sam's.
I got to get back.
For everybody else. Angel, you shared some really amazing things, like about being a foster mom and, caring for your mother and now doing Sunday's Best Crew. If you get to the very root, you talked about like wanting to serve people and just like your whole life, that's what you just have felt called to do. If you could get to the very root of why you do that, why you feel so passionate about that, what would you say that root is? Is it something from your childhood that you learned? Is it something that you just feel passionate about? Is it your faith? What is that root?
I don't, you know what? I was sharing this with my daughter, and I said, I am so much like my mother. What I admired about my mom, her name was Mary, is that she loved people. And I may cry a little bit because it is so important to love others. And I watched my mom. It didn't matter. It didn't matter for ours. She didn't see color. She didn't see color. And I remember being little, and I just would watch her just love on people. Never color didn't exist to her. And I admired that so much about her. I I can't even explain it. And I always say, God, it had to have been my mother's love for people, because she loved, if people would tell, if you knew my mother, people would tell you that that's how she was. She just loved people. And because she loved people, that's all. That's all I know.
Angel,
That's
you're
all,
making me cry here.
that's all I know how to do is love.
Yeah. Well, what an example. And her legacy lives on through you. And as you're talking about your mom, I'm sitting here crying because I lost my mom to cancer last year, and her name is Mary.
Oh gosh.
And
Oh
she
my
was the
God.
same way. I'm like, she grew up in
Oh my
Detroit,
God.
and
Oh my
I'm
God.
like, do we have the same mom?
Oh my God.
Not
Oh my
true, Angel, but
God.
I'm like,
Yes. Yes.
it's just like, what a gift. And I reflect often, and I'm sure that you do too, like how proud our moms must be of us
Yes.
continuing their legacy.
Yes.
And now with your
Yes.
daughter, and like it's
Yes.
just, it continues, and we have that power. And I wish that our moms even knew how, and
Yes.
they know, I believe that they know. I
I
believe
do too. I do
and they
too. That
know
they're
how
both
much.
looking down, saying, "Look at our daughters."
Yeah, sitting on Zoom, which they probably, my mom wouldn't even know how to get on Zoom. Um, but it's just,
Oh,
it's so, the power that one person has, right? And this is
yes.
so important. Each and every one of us have that power. And if we truly believed that we were as unique as our fingerprint, how differently we would live our lives, right? And
Exactly.
so
Yes.
it's so important for us to see people exactly what you're doing. And people don't necessarily have to start an organization. We can just see
Yeah.
people in our own
That's right.
daily routine, or keep
That's
some
right.
snacks in your car. And when you see someone who's struggling,
That's
give
right.
them a couple of dollars or a gift card, whatever. We can only do what we can do. And
Yes.
I'm a firm believer that, we sometimes we just have to do what we know. And here
Yes.
you're cooking meals, and it's not even something that you don't even like to cook. And here you
I don't
are
like this.
cooking
Right.
meals. And so sometimes we end up being asked to do crazy things, but the
Mhm.
yes is so important. And you've said yes, and look at the impact that you're making. And like I said, I can't wait to see where Sunday's Best Crew goes from here. I want to be following One Girl Revolution. We're going to do as much as we can to support the great work that you're doing.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Angel, before I let you go, I have two final questions for you. But the first one is, you are
Mhm.
a one girl revolution. You're a woman who is changing the
Oh,
world every single day. And that's why I want to have
oh.
you on this podcast. But I'm curious to know, who is a one girl revolution in your life? Who's a woman or girl that inspires you?
But right now is my daughter. It is my daughter. She's right there, by my side. And when I pick her up from work, she's we're on our way. We're there. We're there. And even before the donations started coming in, she was buying. She would take her check and buy a lot of the food, and I would say, Tia. So she made sure that they were getting the meals that, that was, healthy meals. So she would even go to the Sam's Club or Gordon's and go shopping, getting off of work. That's what she would do. So yeah, I think it's my daughter. I think it's my daughter. Yes.
Well,
Yeah,
that's
that
amazing.
keeps
And I
me
can't wait to
going.
meet her too.
Oh, you'll love
What
her.
amazing world-changing woman. Angel, like I said, I can't wait to continue to follow everything that you're doing. We will put the website and easy ways
Okay.
for people to donate to the work that you're doing. But
Okay.
before I let you go, I always end this podcast on one question. So I'd like to ask you, if
Mhm.
you could leave women and girls around the world with one message, what would it be?
To never stop and to always believe in yourself. Know that anything and everything is possible if you believe. You know, don't let anything or anyone stop you from your dreams or, whatever it is that you are inspired to do. Just do it. You know, don't hesitate. Sometimes we procrastinate and, and we don't get there. My thing is just do it. When I did these 12 meals, it was just something that I just said I'm going to do, and I just did it and didn't think anything of it. Had not a clue that this was going to happen. And just do it. you know just do it. Believe in yourself. If no one else does, you have to believe in yourself and know that there's nothing that you cannot do if you put your mind to it.
You are such an example of all of that. And I
Mm.
just am so impressed by everything that you've built, Angel. And I know that there are so many other
Thank
people
you.
who are involved, but everybody who's involved in Sunday's Best Crew, shout out to all of them. But Angel, thank you so much for being on the One Girl Revolution podcast. And thank you for all the incredible work that you do.
Thank you so much.
Please follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at One Girl Revo. That's the number One Girl REVO. And you can find more information on One Girl Revolution at onegirlrevolution.com. That's the number onegirlrevolution.com.